umbilical. Disconnect both oxygen supply hoses. Okay, are they disconnected? Give me a thumbs up if they're disconnected. They're still connected. Felix, disconnect the oxygen hose. Atta boy. All right, stand up on the exterior step. Keep your head down.
All right, now. The whole road is working now. At least you can see what I can see. Sometimes it has to be up really high. The smaller you are, I'm going over.
For quite a long time, you know, decades actually. And so this suit here record is...
I have control before because my riser is smoking up. I'll repeat, my riser is smoking up. Okay now.
So you can understand that. He said his visor was fogging up, but he's getting to warmer altitudes. There's the chute. There's the chute. So under parachute now.
Could have done it better myself.
There's
The
from
wind
the
is
helicopter. There's Ava Baumgartner.
Felix, the wind's out of the north, 5 to 10. Give Mike
Elated,
Todd a call.
tears
on
of
this
joy
frequency, over.
from Mission Control. As Felix now
Felix,
approaches the
I
ground.
hear you. The winds here are out of the east at about 10 to 15.
So we're now at 6,000 feet.
You okay, Felix?
This is Mission Control. Felix's current altitude under the chute is 6,600 feet.
Hey, I need direction.
So he has the highest
We're looking
jump.
for you, bud. We can't find you. The telemetry didn't work.
There he is. There's a closer shot from the helicopter.
Felix, the wind's out of the north, 5 to 10.
Beautiful shot.
Facing that big tower. Anybody can hear? I'm facing that big tower.
Okay, and the wind's out of the east. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong information. Out of the east.
On your Felix, we're coming your way, bud. Hurry up, I need clear. Hurry up.
Approaching Earth.
Felix, wind is out of the east. The wind is out of the east.
Under parachute, you have
We see it. We're coming your way right now.
quite a bit of control by pulling
Hurry
those.
up, Mike. Hurry up. Land down and come in the direction.
Wind's out of the east, Felix. Wind's out of the
By
east.
pulling the cords, he can control a fair amount of control on his path into this landing. Now we see that scrub earth below.
Felix's altitude is 5,800 feet.
Just 5,000 feet now, so really nearing, and the altitude out there, I'm not sure of the altitude of the ground.
Hey, drop from clear, guys. Drop from fucking clear.
Oh, he wanted to see, I see. He wanted the smoke so he could see the wind direction.
Hey, Felix, the wind is coming from the ridge. The wind is coming from the ridge. Oh, towards the ridge.
Art
Sorry.
Thompson,
The wind is coming
technical
towards
director
the ridge.
of the Red Bull Stratos program, telling him that the wind is coming from the direction of that ridge I was talking about. So he certainly got the highest jump mark that he was after. We'll find out about the mach. Did he break the speed of sound as he hoped? Here he's coming. And there you can see by the approaching shadow, he's just about there, and he's down on the earth safely. Down on his knees. What a shot. So he has the new record.
And Mission Control shows recovery crew is at Felix's location. Is on its descent.
So in there fast. He has the world's record now for the highest jump by far. Around 28,000 feet. So more than 24 miles up. Successful after all this training, all this work, all this time. There is the capsule being lowered. It has been cut away from the balloon. Its parachute deploying automatically, and the capsule comes down to preserve the data and the pictures that are there. There's
Stratos capsule altitude is
family celebrating.
4,000 feet.
Mrs. Baumgartner, friends, Felix Baumgartner Sr., his father, all celebrating here at Mission Control. Yeah, we have unofficial word there on some of those statistics. It was a 4-minute, and this was unofficial as they got it in Mission Control. 4-minute
Mission Control
and
shows
22-second
88,000 feet and descending.
drop in free fall. So that would not break the Kittinger record for that. Would not break the record for the elapsed time of the free fall. And we'll see, did he break Mach? Those were speeds up in the 700-mile-an-hour mark. So I think that's unofficial and calculated a bit differently than the instrumentation aboard his
Capsule altitude
pressure suit.
8,000 feet and descending.
But that looks like he probably broke Mach, excuse me. But we'll see. That has to wait. And he broke the record, as we mentioned, for the highest manned balloon flight. So after some tense moments, the issue in flight with the visor, which was successfully resolved.
Capsule
There you have
altitude
it.
descending through
Aerospace
70,000
history
feet.
has been made today. Austrian pilot and parachutist Felix Baumgartner has done it. Made Red Bull Stratos mission to the edge of space a part of the record books. A successful climax to years of careful planning and development. Along the way, there were setbacks, snags in development of the equipment, weather delays. But today, Baumgartner and the Red Bull Stratos team are celebrating. Celebrating on the ground there at the scene now. More celebrations will follow here at Mission Control. So we're still awaiting final confirmation, but unofficially, new world records have been set for the highest free fall ever, the fastest free fall ever, as well as the highest ever manned balloon flight. And today was also a big win for
Capsule
science,
altitude
as the
is,
Red Bull
descending
Stratos
through
team collected
60,000
valuable
feet.
data that could ultimately help improve the safety of space travel and enable high-altitude emergency bailouts from spacecraft. The coverage doesn't end here. For more updates, including reaction from Baumgartner and the team, we encourage you to visit redbullstratos.com.
Something goes wrong with my main parachute, I have to release that parachute, and it's not that easy if you're in the pressure suit. And it's already low enough if I need medical treatment. That's why we selected 5,000 feet. And I think I'll hold at 5,200. You got to stick to the plan.
What was it like dealing with all the delays? I know you actually were in the capsule earlier this week and then have to be taken out of that. I guess, what is that emotion like to be told you have to wait,
Well, it is so tough because just the fact that you cannot get sick, just the flu, means we have to abort that mission. And you're surrounded by so many people. A lot of people are coughing, you know. So it requires a lot of discipline, not getting sick. Then I didn't get much sleep all the other days, and you get up early in the morning, you get in that capsule, you have that delay, you're sitting there trapped in your pressure suit, and it takes forever to go up. And then we had this drama with the face shield heating, and by the time when you up at 127,000 feet, you're already totally exhausted, you know. But this is the moment where it still starts, so you have to perform at a certain level, at 100% level, and this was tough, believe me. I've never anticipated it's going to be so tough.
Felix, can you describe the feeling when you're traveling at that speed? What was that like for you? And can you also describe, please, when you seem to go into, at least it looked to us amateurs, kind of like a flat spin, or at least a spin of some sort. What was that like?
Well, it started really good because my exit was perfect. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And then I was falling over. This is what we anticipated because we had this on manned 1 and manned 2. And it looked like for a second I'm going to tumble 2 more times and then I have it under control. But for some reason, that spin became so violent over all axes, and it was hard to know how to get out of that spin. Because if you're trapped in a pressure suit, normally as a skydiver you can feel the air, so you get a direct feedback from the air. But here you're trapped in this suit, and this suit is pressurized for 3.5 psi, so you do not feel the air. It's like swimming without touching the water. And it's hard because every time when it turns you around, you have to figure out what to do. So I was sticking my arm out, then it became worse. So I was putting my arm out on the other side, then it became less. So I was fighting all the way down to regain control because I wanted to break the speed of sound. And I had it. I don't know after how many seconds I could feel air was building up, and then I had it.
Carlos Yorca with the Associated Press. Could you describe the exact feeling of breaking the speed of sound? How does it feel?
It's hard to describe because I didn't feel it. You know, when you're in that pressure suit, you don't feel anything. It's like being in a cast, and it happened somehow down the line, you know. I don't know, we have to look at the data, at what point. Was I still spinning or was already under control? We have to look at the data, but I didn't feel it at all. Because the thing is, if you want to judge speed, you got reference points that passing by, or you have a sound, or your suit is flapping. I have none of these signs, so you don't know how fast you travel.
Let's hear from Joe for a minute. There were a lot of problems and tension along the way. How did you manage that, and how do you see that when you have that triumphant ending?
It was a challenge. We had a team. We worked together. Felix and I had worked together 100 times during the practice. So when we had a problem arise, we worked together as a team to come up with a solution. And Felix did perfect. He took the options that were available and made the right decision. But it was a team effort, and Felix did a fantastic job. And it was an honor for all of us to work with this brave guy.
Any questions?
Felix, quick question. After you came out of that role, you sort of managed to get your wits about you, it seemed like, and we of course only saw a little dot on the infrared camera, but you obviously got control. You either made a sound or tried to say something, and it put a big smile on your mom's face. I'm wondering if you were just trying to make a sound, or were you trying to communicate with the folks back here that you were okay?
No, I was trying to talk all the way down, you know, give Joe a direct feedback, what's going on. And I was talking and talking. And I don't know if you guys have heard me. Joe said he heard a couple things, but I was talking because that was part of the protocol as well.
Any idea what you were saying?
Well, I was talking about the altitude that I'm falling through, then my visor starts fogging up on the way down, so I told Joe, hey, I really have to pull before my visor's getting fogged up because I don't see anything. So it's not that easy. When you fall at that speed, going through all these emotions, it's not that easy to talk, but at least I put out a couple words for you guys. At the end of my skydive or in the capsule? Well, at a certain time, it looked like this is going to be a mission abort because we had this in our what-if list. If you cannot see anything, you cannot leave that capsule. So you have to remain seated. And it was not super bad, but it would slowly start building up frost on my visor. So we had to talk back and forth, and we came up with some solutions, and then we all agreed on pressing this through, and we did it, you know.
In Brazil, we love that picture of you standing on the hand of Christ one moment before you jump. What went through your head today in that moment before you jumped?
Well, I thought, please God, don't let me down. But if you're standing in his son's arm, you know, nothing can go wrong at that moment. That was what I'm thinking.
That was the lowest jump, and this is the highest.
Hi, Felix. Was there ever a point where you felt, I'm in real trouble here, or did you feel like you had it under control at all times, even during the spin?
No, there was a period of time where I really thought I'm in trouble because I have a manual push button where I can release a drogue chute, which pulls me out of the flat spin. But at the same time, I knew if I push that button, this thing is all over. We're not going to fly supersonic. And it's hard. When you fall down at that speed, you have to make that decision, you know. Somehow you have to make that call. Do I push that button and stay alive? Or do I fight all my way down and break the speed of sound? And after a couple of seconds, I had that feeling, I get it under control, and I did. And that's the reason why we broke the speed of sound today.
John Tierney, New York Times. What happened when you were went into that spin? I mean, how did that happen, and what happened that was unexpected about that?
It's hard to tell what happened because I have to look at the video footage. The exit, as I said early on, was pretty perfect, and then somehow it starts spinning. Yeah, there's nothing that I can tell you. I have to look at the footage.
Now, was that a flat spin you went into, or a tumble? Or?
It felt like a flat spin. I think I spun over all three X's, and for a couple seconds I had that feeling that it was a flat spin, you know, which is that spin that we fear the most, because this is what gives you a readout. Mm-hmm. That means your blood is going into your head, and you cannot take that for a long period of time.
Now, how did you feel physically at that moment? Did you feel anything in your eyes or your head? Or
Well, I had a lot of pressure in my head, but I didn't feel like I'm passing out. I was still feeling, okay, I think I can handle this situation, and I did.
Brian Utley has asked to say something.
Yes, I just want to add one additional comment. Because Felix is Austrian, these records that he sets will be submitted to the Aerosport Club of Austria for certification as national records in Austria, and I did want to make that point.
And Art Thompson, what can you say, having managed this whole thing from the beginning?
Well, there was a concern when we started seeing an issue with the faceplate heating and trying to figure out was there an issue with the rheostat in the capsule, or if it was working, wasn't working. Really the biggest concern from the team is making sure that we know that Felix is comfortable with what he has assets to. He has to feel comfortable with his position and know what his options are. And so that's why we start communicating to figure out what is the plan, how do we figure out, is it in the capsule system, is it in the chest pack, is it something that he's still not quite sure whether it was or wasn't. And so we come up with a plan on disconnecting the capsule system, going onto the chest pack to verify that the system would go to full heat, because then it's telling us what's going to happen when he exits out. That's important. But most of all, understanding his comfort level with where we're at, because he has to have confidence in what he's about to do. The spin issue where he goes into a tumble, one of the concerns is that as the tumble occurs and ramps up in speed, it gets more and more difficult for Felix to stop, because as he's putting out an arm to stop it coming one direction, that same arm out to slow you down, as you spin around to the opposite side, it's actually increasing your speed. So for Felix to try and control that becomes an incredible challenge. We're just glad that he was able to get it under control, because at some point you could see a beautiful step off, very controlled. As he was reaching mach, you could see that his positioning was really good. And then he went into a tumble, which again, it's a very small dot, so we have to analyze the accelerometer, XYZ accelerometer, to see what it's telling us, what was happening, how many times he spun, and all that data will be analyzed. But the big thing is that as he regained control of that, you could see his flight path was completely controlled. He was in free fall. He was in a delta position, tracking very well. And that's really part of what this program was to achieve, was to show high altitude egress, passing through Mach, and a successful reentry back. Because our belief is that scientifically, that's going to benefit future private space programs or high altitude pilots. And Felix proved that today. He did an outstanding job as a test pilot.
That goes right to Dr. John Clark, I think, about, I was going to ask you about the scientific side of this. What do you think we learned or are apt to learn as we analyze the data and its value? What would it be used for?
Well, at first I'd like to say that usually when a doctor shows up at a press conference, we're having a bad day. So, the reality is that we have a great scientific team that's augmented the technical team that built the capsule, the balloon, the parachute, the space suit, all that. And we've tried to compile all the scientific data. We've got a great group with Andy Walsh and the high performance Red Bull team, and Mike Gervais, who helped with psychological conditioning. First of all, Felix had a monitoring system on. We're going to spend a lot of time going through that data. It's going to break incredible new grounds. We had anticipated flat spin as a potential problem, and we had a plan to deal with it. We had the drogue chute. We had the fact that Felix was aware of it and wasn't overcome by that surprise. Certainly when you see the spin, you would anticipate, wow, that would be very disorienting, or even potentially cause you to be motion sick. And Felix, he just did, like a champ, he went right through it, and he waited. He knew he was going to come out of it. He knew he was going to gain control, and he did. And to me, it shows the fortitude and the dedication and the focus that he has, because this was not an easy task. And just like Joe's jump, during his ascent, he had a suit failure in the glove, and he pressed on. And Felix had an issue with his visor, and it was a calculated risk, and he pressed on. And it again shows the courage and determination that he has. And the world needs a hero, and today they got one.
Other questions from the floor?
Oh, yeah. Felix, Merlin Scholz for German newspaper Bild. Can you put this jump in comparison to all the other jumps that you've done before? Before you said it's going to be your biggest jump, but now once you've done it, can you tell us, what is the big difference to the other jumps you have done?
Well, I have done a lot of base jumps, which is a total different ballgame, because you only have one chute. Most of the time you jump off from low objects, and I did a lot of famous buildings and objects in the world. Later on, I was crossing the English Channel, which was also kind of a scientific program, with a carbon fiber wing strapped to my back, flew 22 miles across the English Channel. But that team was much smaller. This time, this thing was almost blown out of proportion, dealing with so many different characters and egos and scientists and problems. It was a big attempt, and there's a reason why nobody was ever able to break Joe Kittinger's record for 52 years, because it is a difficult task.
Was there some point when you thought this might be too big?
Many times, honestly, But I have my own system how to work with things like this. I break it down to smaller portions, that don't look at the very end of the project. I was always looking forward to the next task, because if we do not pass the next task, we're not moving forward. So every time when those guys were giving me a challenge, I was trying to meet that challenge, to satisfy these guys, and then we moved on to the next challenge. And after 5 years, we're there.
So, Carsten Lüb from German television. A question, I'm not quite sure if Felix knows. Where did you land, or where did he land, and where did you find the capsule? I suppose you got it. I mean, how far away from here? Who knows?
That leads to Mike Todd.